Okay, cool. So welcome everyone. Tonight we're basically going to be talking about case management, one of the most popular functions that used in CRM. Unfortunately, the scope of case management is rather large, so we're going to cover this in probably 2 or 3 lectures. Tonight I'm going to deal with the basic functionality, and then in future videos I'll show you some more stuff. All right, but I'm going to try and get as much in as I possibly can with regards to case management. All right, so case management, we basically, if you had to define it, right, cases are known in some way, in some businesses, as support tickets, customer queries. It's a request or a request for support that has been raised within CRM. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to manually create a case, how to create cases via a customer portal, and also how to auto create cases. So auto creating cases is basically, let's say, for example, something happens in CRM and I want to trigger an auto case create. So let's say, for example, a customer sends an email, and when that email address receives an email, it wants to take the email and convert it into a support case and then manage the support case journey from within CRM. I'm going to show you how to auto create cases based on events. So for example, when X, Y, and Z condition is met within CRM, I can use a workflow to actually trigger to automatically create a support case and then route that support case through queues. Okay. This brings me to the next topic, which is queues. Queues is an integral part of CRM. So there's actually 2 methods. We have queues and teams. All right. So queues you've got to think about as bins. All right. So when I like to use bins as an example. So for example, let's say, for example, a support case is created. Now, when the support case is created, we want to tell CRM that if it contains a specific subject or it contains a specific category, I want that support ticket to go directly to the right team, because it is very possible in many work environments that the person creating the case doesn't necessarily know who to send the support case to. Very much similar to when you receive a complaint or a query via email, and now you don't know who to send the email to. So what we do with support cases is we pre-configure those support cases to route to specific queues, and by routing to those queues and setting those conditions in CRM, we can actually tell CRM which team or user that a case can automatically assign or route to. Okay, so first of all, when you add a user to CRM, 2 things are created. One is an email address, and the second is a queue. So those are called personal queues. You also get system queues. Now, a system queue is queues that you go and manually create. So you create a queue for finance department, you create a queue for sales, you create a queue for leads. You can create many different queues with whatever different names you want to give them. Okay. Now, within a queue, you can actually assign members to that queue. So, for example, you can have one person who owns the queue, and that person is the only person that has access to the data in that queue. And then that person can take the cases in that queue and manually assign those cases to either users or different queues. So for example, if you had a sales department, and in that sales department, let's say it's a clothing store, you had, let's say a retail outlet, you had clothing, you had apparel, you had workwear, you had different departments. So I'd create a main queue for sales, and then the sales manager or sales team leader would then go and reroute those cases to the sales, the apparel or footwear or whichever queue that they wanted to route them to. So it's a way to contain your cases in queues. So when the user logs in, the user that's responsible for that queue, all the cases that have been assigned to them are automatically parked in that queue. Queues also have a certain security model to them. So for example, if you're not a member of a queue, you wouldn't be able to access those support cases. So a system administrator or someone with the appropriate permissions would need to assign you to the queue. You'll notice when I demonstrate this later on that you can either assign a case to a queue or a team. So what is a team? A team is not like a queue, but a team is rather a group of people that will now have access to that case. So we can create teams, we can create queues. For this demonstration, we're going to be talking mainly about creating cases, and then we're going to talk about show you personal queues, system queues, and then auto case routing. All right, so let's get started. Any questions at this point? You can just pop them in your chat box, and then I'll answer your questions. Okay, I just want to change where my screen sharing is. Okay. Screen 2. You should be able to see my dynamics screen now. Can you guys just confirm that you can see the correct screen? Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All right. So I've logged in again from my admin portal. I'm very used to logging in from this angle, because I log in this way because from here I can reach all my different applications and I can go directly to the one that I want to go to. All right, so I'm going to show you two different places. I'm actually going to let me open this one in a new tab, and I'm also going to open the customer service hub in its own tab. I'm going to show you the difference. Let me see if I got a customer service hub here. There we go. Let's open the customer service hub as well. Okay, so obviously cases can be managed from either or panel, but there's actually quite a significant difference. So if I go to cases on my menu under service, all right, so if I select service, this is where I'll find cases, and when I select cases, by default it'll show my active cases. So if you remember from the previous lectures, what does my active cases means? It means if I open the actual case itself, what you will find is the owner of the case is myself. So it's based on the user. All right. So if we click on the drop down over here, it says owner equals and my name. All right. Okay, cool. So can the owner of a case be a queue? Yes, of course. It can be a queue. It can be a team as well. But in this instance, this is work that has been assigned directly to myself. Very important to note that when you create a case, if I'm the user creating the case, by default, that case automatically belongs to me. You will see on top here, there's some buttons on your command bar. I'll explain some of them to you. The first one is save and route. So for example, if I set up an automatic routing rule set in CRM, it means I'm the person creating the case, so I can go and create all the case detail, fill in all the information, but now I don't know who to send the case to. So I go and click on save and route. What it'll do is it'll go and grab a routing rule set that sits in CRM and route this case to the department or team or queue that it's supposed to go to. Okay. New obviously lets me create a new case. Create child case means I can create a case that is connected to this case. So that's what they refer to as a child case. You'll hear very often in CRM, they talk about parent records, child records, grandparent records, and so forth. If you think of a normal family structure, that's exactly what it means. If I create a child case, it means I've got a master case. So let's say, for example, at the company, let's say Pick and Pay, for example. Pick and Pay has reported an issue, but let's say with one of their fridges that failed. But within that issue, there is a related issue. In other words, I create a child case to do with a compressor, and that becomes a separate teams or separate issue that needs to be worked on, right? Resolve case obviously lets you close it. Cancel case cancels it. Add to queue is basically I'm taking this case and adding it to a queue. Queue item details, obviously to do with the queue item details. So what's going on with the case in its actual queue. Assign lets me, I'll actually click on this because it's relevant to this demonstration. If I click on assign, by default it says me. So this allows me to take ownership of the case. Now, bearing in mind I'm the system administrator, right? Because I set up the system. But I could actually change this to say user or team. So if I did that, then I could now go and look up a user, click on the user's name and click on assign. And now, and Nanda's on your side, if you actually go and log in once this finishes processing and you go to cases in my active case, you will see this case is now owned by yourself. And if I click on the drop down, it'll show the owner is Nanda's and it shows the in progress state and when this case was actually created. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. There is a business process on the top over here. What is a business process? A business process is a process that can be designed or custom built, which is a guided process really for, call it a list of check steps, right? So you've got identify. So who is it? I found the customer. Who's the contact? So let me add a contact here. Let's say John Black. Okay. Cool. So I've fulfilled the first two of the checklist items. Click on set active. Okay. All right. Now look at this. It says here the specified contact doesn't belong to the account. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to associate a contact to a company that he doesn't actually even work for. So that's actually quite cool that that happened, right? So let's click on the drop down. All right, let's pick another one. Set active. Now, by the way, you can also go and reconfigure these views so that the view over here, the contact only shows you a list of contacts that's associated with the actual account so that you don't have this problem. All right. Okay. Cool. I hope that makes sense. All right, because I can see this one hasn't actually been configured. All right, I'm going to click on next stage. So next stage goes, and I can put a whole bunch of stuff here. For example, I can put a whole bunch of checklists. Have you asked the customer this? Have you read them the terms and conditions? Have you sent them an introductory or thank you email? I can put a whole bunch of different checklist conditions over here. I can also set certain conditions to be mandatory. So if you see over here, there's a little red asterisk. That means at any of these stages, if any of these conditions are not met, in other words, I haven't completed the mandatory field, it means I can't complete the actual business process. Where this is very common, that I found personally, is in insurance industry. So a support case is created, they create a whole bunch of check conditions in a claims process, for example. Have you got the ID? Have you got the claim form? Have you got the death certificate? This is the context in which you can use the business process for. Can the business process bar be switched off completely? Yes, absolutely. You can turn it off and not use it, because not all businesses use it, but it can be turned off. Some people also don't like to see the business process bar in this context. They want to be able to see it bigger. In other words, on a sidebar. So if you click on this pop out over here, it'll pop out onto the sidebar, and then you can see it a little bit easier. All right. The objective of using a business process is to provide a guided step process for users to be able to follow from end to end, right? And then once they get to the final stage, resolve, basically by checking all the marks, the case should be in a resolved state. Okay, so let's start off. We're going to go and create a brand new case. So let's click on new case. I'm going to demonstrate this in the native CRM, and I'm also going to show you how to do this in the customer service hub. All right, so let's start off by giving it a case title. Case title is much like an email subject, right? So it's a short description of what the issue is, all right? So I'm going to say, I always like to put the company name first. So let's go Adventure Works. Let's say broken fridge, right? Okay. I should spell adventure correctly. There we go. You'll see the ID. The case ID has got a little lock over there, which means you can't edit it. This will generate by itself. Subject. This is quite important because when it comes to automatically routing cases, the subject is what we normally peg the routing on. All right. So is it a query or is it a service-related incident? So I'm going to say service, and I'm going to select maintenance. Okay. Who's the customer? Let's go with AdventureWorks. So you'll find AdventureWorks in your system under your test data. Okay, so let's go with this one here, AdventureWorks, right? And now the origin, what is the origin? This is how did you receive it? Was it via phone, email, web, Facebook, or Twitter? So some of these are quite interesting because the first time I ever saw CRM, I actually thought that someone has to be quite disciplined to fill this in. But in actual fact, we use these. So for example, the email one, you'll notice when we automatically create cases, we set the origin automatically to email. And for Facebook, when we connect, for example, our CRM to Facebook, when we receive posts from Facebook that have some sort of negative sentiment, we set the origin to Facebook. So when we look at the scope of all of our support cases, we can get a very clear indication of where all our support cases are coming in. All right. Can you edit this list? Yes, of course you can. You can edit it as well. I'm going to select for this demonstration of phone. So in the context of this, I got a phone call and the person is busy asking me about the issue. Okay. And I'm going to capture it. Right. Entitlements, I'm going to explain in a future lecture, but we're just going to keep it simple for this time. I can associate the support case to a specific product if I want to. So if I click on the drop down, I can select a product. I can also go and type in a partial name and click on search, and then it'll actually bring up that product. I can also link it to an IoT alert. We'll discuss that in a future lecture. All right, then description. Right, so customer reported that their fridge is no longer getting cold. Okay, we'll keep it simple. Right, SLAs, you can attach an SLA and also automatically attach an SLA. In this case, we're not really going to at this time. We'll keep that for the SLA and an entitlement lecture tomorrow. All right, and that's it. Let's just click on save. Now our support case is created. All right, you'll see a case ID is generated over here. This now obviously tells us what the case number is, and you're very familiar that when you phone certain companies, you create a support case, they send you an email, and that email contains, this is your support case, this is who's working on the case with you, and this is our contact details. This is exactly actually how it happens. All right, so a case has now been raised. Now, very important to note, right? This one, I'm pretty sure comes up in your exams. If I manually create a case, the case will not automatically route to a queue. I have to actually click on save and route to trigger the automatic routing rule sets. All right. If a case is automatically created by a system rule, then it will apply the routing rule set. So remember, cases that are automatically created via workflow or automatic case creation rule sets, the routing rule set will apply. Cases that are created manually will not trigger the routing rule set. The user must go and actually create the case and then click on save and route. All right, cool stuff. Okay, we got the normal timeline. You'll find this in your contact account records. You'll find it over there as well. All right, we can click on the plus from within the case. We can actually send the customer an email by clicking on email, and I can send the customer an email. Let's give an example over here. So subject, let's say fridge query, for example. Send them, dear John, thank you for your query. Regards, Uncle Sam. Right. And then we can just click on send. You also have the option to click on save. What's the difference? If I click on save, it's actually going to save my email in a draft state. So it actually hasn't sent. Okay, so I can actually continue to work on this email. And if I close out of the screen, I can continue to work on the email as I need to. If you've set up your personal email signature, if I go over here and I click on the button on my command bar and click on insert signature, it'll go to my system settings and it'll insert my signature in there. And I'll show you in a different lecture where to actually find your signatures. But there's a couple of signatures that you can load up there. And you'll find that in your personal options. Whoopsie, I just went and opened that. I didn't mean to, sorry. All right, in your settings over here, your personalized settings, opening that, and you'll be able to configure your signature. Okay, I'm not going to wait for it to load. I'm just going to go back. Okay, cool. All right, then knowledge records. So here you can actually associate knowledge records. Now, what are knowledge records? We are going to discuss this in another lecture as well, because this is a whole lecture on its own. But basically, knowledge records are a set of documents that the company has pre-written that can be used in many different ways. You can use them as email templates or auto response templates. You can use them as product information brochures, troubleshooting brochures, troubleshooting guides. There's a lot of ways that you can use it. Okay. Enhanced SLAs, so service level agreements. We all understand what service level agreements are, but what CRM does is it takes your service level agreements and it actually monitors those service level agreements. And in this case, you can see it's empty because there's no service level agreement associated with this case. Okay. All right, let's actually go and look at what this is. Obviously standard CRM, but then you also have something called a customer service hub, which looks a little bit different. Now, these over here are called streams, right? So this is my active cases and my resolved cases, my draft emails. So these are my streams. So if I'm a customer service representative and I'm dealing with support cases, and generally speaking, this is a really nice method to work, is if you're a customer service agent, because I get all my cases that are nicely lined up, right? I'm just going to refresh this quickly so we can actually see how that actually looks with active cases on it. Okay, there we go. So you can see there's a case over here that's an in-progress case, right? Cool. And then it shows there's my email that I sent out. So I got one panel that I can actually view everything. what I really like about the dashboards is that if you see here, this is called a tier 1 dashboard, which has got your 4 streams. If I click on the drop down and change to tier 2, I get this really cool dashboard that gives me a summary of my work. So it keeps my active cases over here in the stream, but then I've got cases by priority, cases by product, a case mix, case origin, resolution trend, and I've got these tiles that give me an overview of exactly what's going on. Nice thing is these tiles are actually interactive. So if I had a whole bunch of cases in the stream over here, and I clicked on any of these, so if I click on my active cases over here, it'll actually filter this list down. And likewise, if I click on the graphs over here, it'll add the filter. And then I can click on clear all to go and remove those filters. That's quite nice. So if you see over here now, I've got a whole stream of cases here, 30 of them, all right? And there's a case mix of normal, low, and high priority cases. Here you'll see case mix by incident type, different incidents. So this is typically what a service manager would see, okay? Right. Okay, so let's go back to let's click on dashboards. Tier 1, you'll see it's refreshed now back to my cases, my resolved cases, and so forth. Okay, so let's click on it. Let's see how a case form actually looks, because it's a little bit different from CRM to, or not CRM. So that's the standard UI, and this is your customer service interface. Now, one thing you'll notice that's quite different is on the side here, you've got these related tabs. My favorite one is this little one that's a book. Now, you'll notice in older versions, these 3 buttons are vertically positioned on the right-hand side, not horizontally positioned. You just got to look out for it, right? If you click on this little book, what you'll notice is you'll see it says Adventure Works Broken Fridge. If you can remember correctly, this was actually the subject that I gave the case. You remember that? But there's the case title. Now, what the system does is it takes your case title when I click on articles, this little book, and it automatically copies it in here, and it'll automatically go and search for any related articles based on the subject. So that's really cool, because now, for example, if I'm a support agent and I want to be able to help a customer, I need to be able to quickly reference documents that are either solutions or answers to questions, product brochures, and many different things. Right, but to give you an example, I'm going to clear out this. I want to try and search. I just want to see if there's any articles actually in the system. I don't think there's actually any active articles here. No, there isn't. All right, cool. Okay, so if you go down on the side here, you'll see there's a section called Knowledge Articles. All right. Now, I promised myself I was not going to get into this today. Let me just go here and go to All Active Articles. I'm going to publish one of these articles just so that you guys can see how it actually looks in the support case. Let's look at the status. It's already published, version 1. Okay. And this is the subject over here. I want to see if I can actually call up this within my support case. There's my articles over here. And let's clear my subject out, and I'm going to paste that subject in. And then you see how the articles come up. So I can actually type stuff, and it'll automatically search for articles. Right. Now, let's go and type in printer, for example. And you'll see it'll find how to support a 3D printer. Now, 2 really cool things is you got your link, which means I can link the article to this problem or case. So by doing that, what you do is you actually eventually get an overview of which articles were used as solutions. The second thing that I can do, which is my favorite, is the email button. So if I click on email, what it's going to do, it's going to take the article, pack it up, copy all the information, so it's regarding this case, from me to the customer. It's going to copy the article subject as make it the subject of the email, and then the body of the email is going to contain the whole article. I simply click on send. Now, how cool is that function? I absolutely love that function. Okay, this error is obviously because there's no mailbox configured, but we're pretty good to go. I'm going to save that. Okay, cool. So this is a really, really nice function to be able to use in CRM. So in essence, I can be working in a support case. I can fire off solution documents, product brochures, informations, letters, whatever I need to be able to send the customer to. Also what's nice is you can have a pre-written documents that support agents can use to quickly resolve queries, or however you really want to use it. You really got to get quite creative. You can also make the documents or the articles look really, really nice. So you can use HTML in them. You can put in pictures. You can do a whole bunch of different things that can really make these articles look incredible. Okay. All right. So now that we're done with that, let's say we've got our support case. We're happy. We sorted out the issue with the customer. The final thing to do is to resolve the case. Okay. So let's click on resolve. They're going to ask you, do you want to confirm you want to resolve? Yes, confirm. Okay. Your resolution type, is it problem solved or information provided? Let's say information provided. Resolution, send customer trouble shooting guide, for example. And then billable time, let's say 30 minutes. Now, this is optional, right? So if I'm not billing this customer, then I wouldn't do that. But let's say, for example, you've got a case routing system for a legal firm, then you would definitely be using billable time. I can add in any remarks that I want to add in, or I can just click on resolve. Okay. Once I resolve the case now goes into a read-only state, which means I can't edit this case anymore, and the case is now resolved. But something that I do want to show you with regards to cases, right? If we scroll down and we look for the actual company, there we go. You can see the customer. Click on the customer's company name. That'll take you straight into the company. Okay. Now, if I go down and I actually go and scroll through here, what I'm looking for is a grid for support cases. And we don't see it here. So let's go to the related one, and we're going to go look for cases. Where's the cases here? There we go. All right. So what essentially, by clicking on this, what do we expect to see? What we expect to see is we expect to see a list of all support cases related only to this customer. So in other words, I can actually go from a support case into the actual account that relates to that support case and get an overview of all related support cases that have happened. All right. Now, I'll tell you why this is important. Is we want to be able to keep our customers happy by resolving the cases as quickly and as timelessly as possible. You'd also, as a support agent, be able to see if the customer is continuously creating or the same case over and over and over. You have the ability as well to be able to take multiple cases that have been created and then go and merge those cases together, thus creating one case. And when you do that, very, very important, when two cases are merged together, you're going to first select a parent record. Let's actually go and do that. Let me show you how to merge a case. So let's say, for example, a customer called in twice. Two different support agents answered the call. And when these two support agents answered the call, they both created a support case for the same thing. But yourself as the customer service agent, you were handling the support case, and you quickly went to go check if there's any other queries the customer has, and you notice that this customer's got two support cases for the same customer. All right. So I'm going to select both. Now, when I select both, you see on the top of my menu here, it says merge case. So I'm going to click on merge. Right. Now it says select the case that the other case will merge into. Now, very, very important. Now, I've seen so many people don't read this thing properly. So it says select the case that the other case will merge into. So if I select this one over here, it means it's going to take this one and merge it into that, thus making the second case inactive. All right. I hope you got that. Okay. Let's process. Okay. One case successfully merged into the service request, into service request soon. Okay, there we go. Service request soon is the subject. Now, if I click on this, the cases have been merged. Okay. Now you will see over here, recent cases. There's the recent cases information is still here, and you can play around with it. It's a really cool function to be able to stop people from creating duplicate cases. One scenario that you'll find that this happens very, very often is when cases are automatically creating based on automatic creation rules. So in other words, you've set up a rule that for every time someone sends an email to support, the system must automatically create a case. So when that happens, you'll find that you get duplicate cases quite often, and in that instance, you may want to consider using the merge function quite a lot. Okay. 1 second for me, please. All right. So let's go and look at back to our cases. Okay, so we've got our active case here still. All right. Through our case, you can go to obviously the different tabs in the case that you can obviously navigate around the case and so forth. Some of the stuff I'll show you in future lectures that'll be coming up soon. All right. So I hope from now you understand how cases work. The basics you need to understand about a case: once a case is created, it is active. Okay, that's the status. Once a case is resolved, the status changes to resolved. Very important to remember these because Microsoft has a tendency to ask, especially a lot of questions around states of a case or states of a record. When I say states, I mean the actual status or state of the actual case. All right. Then save and root. This save and root function basically grabs the routing rule set and actually routes the case to a specific queue or team automatically. All right. So what I mean by that is remember earlier in the video I said to you two things. I said, one, cases that are manually created will not automatically route. You have to click on the save and root. Cases that are system generated will apply the routing rule set and route to the applicable user, team, or queue, whichever you've assigned it to. Okay. Right. These tabs over here, the summary tab contains the main body of the actual case itself. All right. Any details? This is further details about the case. Case relationships. Okay, so these are merged cases. There's the case that we actually merged. You can see the status of a merged case. Don't forget this. It says cancelled. Okay, this is really, really important. The status of a merged case is cancelled because we've merged two cases into each other. Okay. All right, fantastic. SLAs, these are service level agreements. Let's go back to case relationships. I forgot to show you this child cases over here. Right. Associated knowledge records. If I've done any, remember on the knowledge record where you can actually click on link. When you click on link on a knowledge record, this is where it'll actually show up that you've linked a knowledge record and basically stated that that's the solution that you provided to the customer. Right. SLA. There's any SLAs that you've configured, which I'll demonstrate this in future videos. Audit history is a very nice function, right? So what audit history basically does, and very important to note that audit history, just because audit history is on, does not mean it'll audit everything in CRM. To explain, for every field that you want to audit, you need to enable that field for auditing. So what is a field? If I go, for example, to, let's say I go back here and I go to the case title and I enable auditing on the case title, that means if anybody edits this, CRM will record the before and after value. If I have the subject over here, if I enable auditing on the subject, then every time the subject changes, CRM will record those changes. So very important to note that if you do enable auditing, make sure that that you choose the fields very carefully. You obviously don't want to just go ahead and audit everything. Okay. All right. Now, so what are ways that customers can create cases? They can phone in, they can email in. If the customer emails in, I have many ways to actually create a case from an email. Well, a few ways, right? If I have CRM installed on my Outlook, I can actually take the inbound email and convert it to a case. Or I can create an automatic case routing rule or case creation rule. So when an email comes in, I automatically pick up that email and convert that email into a case. From social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, where I've connected my CRM to my social media channels, I can automatically create cases based on conditions of comments or sentiment. There's a number of different ways, but I suggest you study that one quite carefully. There's quite a lot of rules around it, especially when it comes to Facebook. All right. The other way that customers can create cases, and possibly my favorite way, is through what we call a portal. All right, so let's go and look at that. So in our very, very first lecture, we actually configured a portal. So I'm just navigating now to administration to go and see what my portal link is, because we did it quite a few days ago and I don't remember what the actual portal link is. So let's go to my admin centers. I'm looking for Dynamics 365. Oh, here it is over here. All right, so let's go to my Dynamics 365 admin center. So if you do forget the link for whatever reason, you can go to your applications. There's your portal there. Click on it, and I can actually go and see what the link is for my portal. Okay, let's wait, give that a chance to load. Probably should have made a note of this one. All right. So this is, to explain briefly, this is actually the admin center for the portal. This is where we configure the custom domain, configure the actual domain, where we reset the portal, clear its cache. There's quite a number of functions over here. Okay, so there's my portal URL. Right, so I'm just going to click on it to open it. So this is a really, it took some time for people to start using this function of deploying portals to companies. And I think that there was a lot of uncertainty on how to actually configure it, because the naming conventions of certain things are different. The overall functionality is exactly the same, just the wording is slightly different. So for example, in CRM, I'm just going to explain this to you while this page loads, but in CRM, if I go to cases, for example, this is called a view, all right? So it's a view of items. But in the portal, we call it a list. Okay, so that's the type of, to give you a simple example of what the differences are. All right. Let me go to my other tab now. So I just want to go over here. Okay. So here's your standard out-of-the-box portal that we deployed to customers. Can you actually go and change how this portal looks? Absolutely. You can customize this thing like nobody's business. You can go for it like you would customize a website and have this look absolutely custom to your specs. Change the fonts, change the colors, change the pictures, remove components, add components. You can do all kinds of crazy things on here. I'm actually, once I'm finished with the ABC basics of CRM, I'm going to do a whole section on customizing portals using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap, as well as JavaScript. And I'll show you how to make this portal look quite funky. All right. So let's start off by registering a profile. I'm going to click on sign in. Okay. When we click on sign in, we'll go eventually to the sign in page. Okay. Now, at this moment in time, the portal is a bit slow. I assume this is because this is a trial instance, but a live instance of a portal or one that's actually owned by a customer generally performs really fast. Okay, so I'm going to click on the register tab, and I'm going to register myself a profile, myself a username. Let's go. Okay. Cool, and a password. And click on register. You'll see on the side here, they've got this register using an external account. So it's got an Azure AD here. So what that basically is a single sign-on experience, right? So if you are it's more commonly used for people that when you're deploying a portal that is for employees, where they're already on your Active Directory, they can just click on that and then have a single sign-on experience with the AD. Okay. So let's go and fill in some details. Put in the business phone number, organization name. Right. Preferred language. Cool stuff. I can choose my communication options over here and then click on update. Okay. Right. So now that my portal profile is created, you'll see on the right-hand side, my name is here. Okay, so I'm going to navigate straight over to my support. Okay. Now, let's go and create a case. I'm not going to discuss too much of the portal functions. Let's stick to cases for now. I'm going to say open a new case. Now, one of the things I want you to become familiar with is something called case deflection. Okay, so what is case deflection? All right, let me demonstrate rather. I'm going to put in the title, so printer is not working. Now, if I wait just for a second, what CRM does is it triggers the case deflection. So what it does is it searches the knowledge article base and automatically brings up possible articles that could be solutions. All right. So what it does is it's deflecting, the word case deflection is deflecting the customer away from creating a case and deflecting them to possible solutions. But let's say, for example, we're not interested. We want to continue. Case type, I'm going to say a problem. Link it to a subject, service, I'm going to say maintenance. Contact, I can put in a contact there, but obviously the customer has already mapped my name in here, so that's good. Okay, so let's say fridge not getting cold. All right, I can attach a file over here if I wanted to. You just click on choose files and then select from your directory on your PC, then just click on submit. And there we go. You got a case number already. There's your case number. And I can configure CRM to actually send me an email. All right. But there we go. There's our case title. Printer's not working. All right. So let's go into our customer service hub and let's go look at how that looks. All right. So that's not the customer service hub. This one is here. Let's refresh. Now, obviously, you can do a whole bunch of custom things. For example, when a customer creates a case on the web, I can say when a case is created, I want to automatically receive an email. You can do that. You can also go and, how can I say, you can automatically email the customer back. You can email a manager. You can create custom workflows to do all kinds of different things. Okay. Right. I'm just going to click on the created on date on the top here to actually sort my data so that I can get to my case that I just created now easier. There we go. You see printer not working. There's the case. So if I click on this case, now you notice that I had to actually search for this case, right? Now I don't want to have to search for cases. I want cases to automatically be assigned. So when I go, for example, to cases, under my active cases, I want the case to automatically show up over there. All right. So in order to do that, we need a routing rule set. Okay. So for example, I'm going to go into my settings and let's actually go and create one, right? So let's go to advanced settings. Now, let's say, for example, I'm the person that's responsible for all support cases to do with how can I say? I think the topic on the category list, or the subject was, let's go to service management. I think it was maintenance, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. There's a routing rule set. So we're going to select the routing rule set. Okay. Let's go and create a new one. This is, again, something you have to practice. The more you practice it, you'll play around with it. Okay, so let's call this maintenance rule set. All right, let's spell it right. There we go. Let's say route to Byron. Okay, and then let's click on save. Okay, so we've basically created the header for the rule set, right? Now the rule items, let's click on plus. Wait for it to load. Come on. It's taking some time to load tonight. Do you have any questions in the meantime, Nandis, while I'm busy waiting? No? Okay, cool. All right, let's give it a name. I'm just going to give it a simple name. Okay, you can just give it a description. Byron is the maintenance manager, blah, 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 whatever rule you want to give it. Right, now the rule, it says the if condition. So if the case subject, so we can put the mouse over there and then just type subject equals, click on the lookup, and we want maintenance, this subject, select, right? Then, so that's if this happens, then route to queue or user or team. So I'm going to say user or team. And then in the lookup, select a user. So we said we wanted to go to, look, I'm going to go to lookup here. I want to make sure I select a user. There we go. See the lookup, it says user. look for user, and then obviously if I've got hundreds of users here, I can just go and type it in and search, and there we go. Then click on add. Right, now save. Now you can create a bunch of different rule sets, right? In rule items. So you can create a whole bunch of rule items within a rule set. Okay. Then we go and click on save and close. Cool. All right. Now, although it's created, it will not work yet because we still have to activate it. So let's click on activate. And then activate. Okay. Now we go. Now our rule's active and it'll work. Okay. So let's go give it a test drive. All right. So this is going to be quite a tricky explanation, but let's say, for example, you see it says my active cases here, right? But I want you to try to imagine that I'm the person monitoring all the incoming cases, all right? And if I'm the person monitoring all the incoming cases, essentially what I'm looking for is I'm looking for new cases that have been created that are not assigned to anybody. So I'm going to click on this. Now, just to confirm, let's click on the drop down on the top here, and you'll see the owner equals system, because the case doesn't know who the owner belongs to. All right. Now I'm going to go and add a note. Click over here. Let's say case received. I can put whatever note I really want to with some details. Let's try that again. Details. And then click on add note. I've added the note. Okay. I'm going to click on save and route. It says, do you want to route this case based on the active routing rule set? Route. Okay. So what has actually just happened here? What has happened is there can be a whole bunch of routing rule sets with rule items that are programmed in the system that are already pre-set up. I don't have to know who and where the case needs to be routed. The system will remember that. What it means is you can have a tea lady create a case, and all she needs to know is how to click on save and route, and it'll send it to the right department. So how do we check that? Let's click on cases again. And you see I'm at my default, my active cases, and here's my case sitting. Okay, let's go look at the customer service hub. Right, that's not the customer service hub. Here it is here. Okay, I can go to cases, and there we go. Let's go to my tier 1 dashboard in cases. Where's my tier 1 dashboard? Let's go to dashboard. Sorry, I was looking at views. There's my tier 1 dashboard, and there's my case sitting over here. I can now open the case. Now take a look at what's going to happen. Because I've opened the case, because the subject says printer's not working, when I click on articles, it'll immediately give me solutions. Okay, just as I demonstrated earlier. All right. So I want to demonstrate one more function to you with regards to working with support cases, and something that you should possibly consider advising your customer. It's never a good idea, if you want to report on cases, the activity and communication, try to contain your conversation inside the case. In other words, if I'm going to send an email, send the email to the customer from the case. Okay, so send an email here, because it will record it in the timeline. Likewise, if the customer replies to the email contains a tracking token that will route the email straight back into CRM, provided that you have set up the email in CRM. But my favorite one is this one called Portal Comment. Okay, so I'm going to click on Portal Comment to show you what this is. So Portal Comment basically allows me to post a comment on the footer of the case on the portal user side. Right, so subject does or let's say print, let me give it a subject, say printer status. Okay, let's say status check. And I'm going to ask this customer a question saying, does the printer have ink? Okay. Right. Now I'm going to click on mark complete. Now this is something that you definitely need to remember. If I click on save, it will save the portal comment, but it will not expose the comment to the portal. I have to click on mark complete in order for the comment to be pushed back to the portal. All right. I hope you got that one. Let's go to our portal now. Right, let's refresh. Okay, now another piece of advice is if you're using portal comments, what I suggest you do is set up a workflow, and that workflow, when support loads a comment, send the customer an email to say support has loaded a comment. And when a customer loads a comment, send the support owner of the case an email letting them know the customer has created a comment, right, or loaded a comment. Let's click on the case title. I can either click on the case title or click on the little drop down over here and click on view details. This will actually open the case. And we're waiting. There we go. There's my case title. Maintenance, case type, problem. There's a description, right? And at the bottom here in the timeline, you'll see it says, this is the user that made the comment, and it says, does the printer have ink? Right? So I can respond. I can click on add comment, and I can say, no, the ink is low. The red light is flashing, for example. I can attach a picture if I want to. So yes, if I'm using the portal from a mobile device, I can take a photograph and upload that photograph by clicking on choose file, or I can take a picture, save it locally to my PC, and upload that as well. Let's go and submit that. Okay, now you'll see there's a two-way conversation. So this shows it comes from Byron, but this one shows the message's direction is from James to Byron, James being the portal user. Okay, so what do you end up with? You end up with the details of the case along with the whole conversation history. Now, obviously, I can cancel the case as the user. I can close the case. I can update the case. In other words, if I go and add more information over here into the body of this case, or I go change any information, then I can actually go and update this case. Okay, so let's go back to our customer service hub and look at how that actually renders in the customer service hub. Okay. All right. Now let's take a look at the timeline. You'll see it says, no, the ink is low. There's your comment. All right. I can immediately click on close activity, or I can go and create a new portal comment and ask the customer a question. All right. So let's go do that. Let's go and go to portal comment. Let's say change ink. If you buy a new toner, the printer will print. Okay, right, there we go. Mark complete, and that pushes it straight back to the portal. Okay, and now let's say, for example, I'm satisfied. I want to resolve this case. Go click on resolve, click on problem solved, or information provided, resolution. Customer was advised to replace toner. Okay, and then I can put any remarks here I want. So the resolution and resolution type. First of all, the resolution itself, you've got problem solved and information provided, so it can be either or, but the actual resolution provided is very, very important, because you'll find that, especially if you are the one doing the configuration for a customer, you'll find that they want to drill down of, okay, for all the stuff where information provided, what is the actual drill down of information? So when you're building a report, you can actually build a report based on that information. And then click on resolve. Then it packs up the case and it's closed. Let's go back to our portal and let's actually go and see how that looks when we go and look at our cases. So if I click on my support, and you'll see the case is gone, but it's not actually gone. If I click on the drop down over here, this is my view selector allowing me to view my open cases, my closed cases. And there's my closed case with a status reason of information provided. The customer can then go click on the case. It'll show them the case details over here, the whole history. And it says over here that they responded saying, if you buy a new toner, it'll print. I can reopen this case, which essentially will then go and reactivate the case. And then I can go and add comments going, I am not that silly. There must be something else wrong. Please send a technician and submit. And obviously, you know, it'll come straight back into the portal and vice versa. All right, cool. I hope you learned a lot in this lesson, and look out for the next one that will come in a day or two's time, where I'm going to continue on the support side in terms of showing you how to create articles, which is really, really important one, especially if you do a lot of configuration around customer service. That'll definitely help you a lot. Thank you so much.